Now, your old pal Jim Sterling doesn't know a lot, by full admission, about fighting games, but if he were to give you a little bit of advice about fighting games, he would suggest that maybe you don't buy Blazblue Cross-Tag Battle at launch, because if you can hold on a year or maybe even less than that for a complete edition, you'll get half of the fucking roster. One thing I'm starting to notice is that games with rosters, specifically fighting games and sports games, are starting to take the piss more and more with said rosters, because of course if you have a large significant gallery of playable characters, that's a lot of playable characters you can hide behind downloadable content gates. And that's what we're seeing with the upcoming Blazblue, which isn't even out yet, but literally has 50% of its roster squared away as paid downloadable content. 20 characters are coming in the base game, and another 20 characters are going to be available as DLC. Blake Belladonna from Rubway is the first DLC character announced. The list of downloadable content includes the DLC character all-in-one pack, the aforementioned Blake, DLC character set volume 1, question mark, and then that goes 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, then a final mystery DLC character right at the end. If all of that doesn't sound cynical enough for you, you may be interested to learn, although if you're a follower of the game you might know already, that some characters from Rubway are available in the main roster. So it does seem a little bit extra shitty that other characters like Blake are being sold as DLC, almost as if they know exactly what the fuck they're doing, the shitty little shitmongers who eat shit and have brains made of shit. Gematsu writer Sal Romano points out that most of the characters in the base roster have been playable in previous games. Apparently all of them, in fact, if you take out the Rubwi characters. He also points out that later this month, EVO Japan 2018 is showing off a demo, which will include all 20 main roster characters, which means they're all pretty much done, with another 6 months before the game comes out. Now, before we say anything else, let me just say how it's almost pleasant to talk about DLC shenanigans, just straightforward, old-fashioned DLC shenanigans. The kind Capcom love to pull, the kind Namco Bandai love to pull. It's also fucking sad that I should be nostalgic for this sort of corporate dickery, but the old ones are the best ones. And this slimy slime is less slimy than some of the slimier slime we've looked at, especially since there are no glorified gambling elements attached to this. It's straightforward DLC purchasing. But better doesn't mean good. And announcing that half the roster's gonna be DLC 6 months before the game comes out isn't good. It leads one to ask what I feel is the very legitimate question: why the fuck should we buy it at launch, for God's sake? The AAA game industry has done a pretty good job of letting us know that there's a limited value prospect in purchasing most of their games on launch day. I mean, the vast majority of them are gonna get some bullshit Game of the Year edition or definitive edition later down the line, often later that year. And when you announce that half of your goddamn roster is going to be downloadable content, I would say the only wise move on the customer's behalf is to wait. Either wait for a complete edition or wait for a significant price reduction of the base game. Otherwise the value just isn't there for the customer. It's just not there. I mean, even if we play devil's advocate and say, well okay, 20 characters is still a lot of characters. Simply knowing up front that there's another 20 characters waiting in the wings asking for more money should lead the savvy customer to think, well fuck it, I'll just wait until it's cheaper, or I can get it in a bundle at some point. At least if they're approaching this from a money conscious angle. I mean, if they just want to buy it immediately, they will. I mean, loads of people will. But the way video game releases and re-releases and price reductions are set up these days, a DLC announcement like this suggests you're throwing money down the toilet if you buy it immediately. That's just how it is. That's what the pattern of AAA game releases has led me to believe. thanks to years of them launching games that are inherently devalued because months later they're going to be re-released with more content at the same price. This isn't me suggesting a boycott or anything, I don't much care about boycotts. So those of you who are going to email me by saying, I pre-ordered the game, are you butt mad? Are sort of wasting their time. I don't actually care how you spend your money, you fools. I'm just saying, if you like fighting games, you're interested in the new Blazblue, and you're not made of money, there ain't much point pre-ordering, there ain't much point buying it at launch. And even if I were a fighting game fan, unless I were getting this specifically to do video coverage of it, this is one I'd definitely wait on. In fact, if I am buying a game just for funsies, I think I'd wait on any fucking game that tells me half of its playable characters are fucking DLC. As it stands, I'll just politely ask Arc System Works why, after it's pulled a major Capcom, any of its fans should feel compelled to support them. I'll leave the full pelt torch and pitchfork outrage to actual Blazblue fans, who, at least according to the comment section on that Gematsu article, are pretty pissed off about this. And personally, can't say I blame them. More like Arc System working a grift, am I right? Ha 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 ha.